Hello and welcome to the Blessings in the Streets podcast. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts, and in studio with me this evening is a brother that I with a short time ago across the social media lines. This brother is a serial entrepreneur. He is an author. He is an influence. He's a father. He's a husband. But most importantly, he is a man of God, and he's taken time out of his very busy schedule to hang out with us this evening to share a little bit of his journey, his story, with the hopes of encouraging and inspiring and uplifting others, especially when it comes to dealing with the challenges and adversities of life and best practices that one should consider following in order to be able to withstand and endure such difficult times and challenges and moments in their lives. So, ladies and gentlemen, it is my privilege and honor to not only meet this brother, but to get to learn a little bit more about his story and what it's all about. I'm excited for myself and I'm excited for you tuning in. So without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce to you Mr. 180 himself, Archie Jenkins. Archie, thank you so much, my brother, for being on the show.
First off, thank you so much for having me. Thank you so much for the platform.
Absolutely, absolutely. And so before we jump in, I do want to give you an opportunity to share with our audience a little bit about yourself, who you are, where you're from, what you do, kind of give them a taste of who is Mr. 180, Archie Jenkins.
Well, it wouldn't be me if I didn't do what I do best. What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Mr. 180, and you already know. I am here in Texas, y'all. I am so grateful for just being a serial entrepreneur, a magazine mogul. As you can see behind me, um, I have been blessed 3 years in magazine and print in an industry that is going out because of technology. I am still yet holding on. Also, I am a photographer. I'm blessed to be, as they call it, the celebrity photographer, going on tours with different celebrities, having a good time. But I'm a husband, like you said, a father. We just literally gave birth to our second child, two under two. So we're grateful for my little princess. She is 18 days old now, so I am grateful for that. But I am a marketing management company. I have created a marketing magnet where you could be in magazine, you could be on podcasts, wherever you want to go. I want to just honor those that are, our everyday people that are killing the game, that are doing it. Because after you sell to mama and daddy, sister, brother, cousin, who else you gonna sell to? You need people around you that's gonna push you to the limits. So that's what I do.
Appreciate that, man. Love what you're doing. Been reading up on you, checking up on you, man. So that's why I said I was super excited that we connected. And when I found out all the stuff that you were doing, I was like, man, this brother is busy. He is walking in his purpose, doing his thing. Of course, I saw you posting about your baby girl being born, man, getting a new house. I mean, you got God is blessing you in so many areas, man, personally and professionally, man. So we can't help but be excited and celebrate that just right out the gate for you, man. And I'm just, glad for that in your life, man. And just, again, thankful for you taking time to be with me here on the show, man. So
Yes, sir.
with that said, let's go ahead and find out a little bit more about you, about your story. But before we jump in, deep into our segments here, I'm a firm believer that, when it comes to our stories, when it comes to speaking about our journey, our walk, we would be remiss if we didn't take the time to go back to the beginning, to where it all starts from. And so that's exactly what we're going to do right now. So if you would kind of walk back with me, take us back to those childhood days. And if you would tell us, what was it like for you growing up? Fond memories that you have about growing up, as well as if there was any challenges that come to mind that came about growing up. Kind of give us that foundational basis of where your story begins.
So for me growing up, I'm real black and white with people. My parents worked hard. We were middle class. Dual parent household. We were a Christian household. My parents were preachers. We sang the gospel. They had a quartet group. I loved music. Um, School academically became rough for me. I would say roughly around sixth grade. That's when it became rough. That's when the ADHD epidemic came out, and they said I had ADHD. So that became a struggle because I had more energy than others, and that was one big thing. They kept me medicated. Certain things I did not like, but through it all, I did make it. Also in seventh grade, um, I was 13, 12 or 13. I did get, now it's in the book, y'all, so I do speak openly about it. I did get raped and molested on a couple of occasions from a couple of people that were close to our family. So I did go through that. That's when a lot of things began to change in my mind. So by the time I got to high school, I was grown. You could not tell me anything. You couldn't, my parents bought me a car, but by high school I was living with my grandmother, because I just was literally out of control, loud, class clown, most likely to fail. They didn't say succeed. And I can't say that I had a bad upbringing because we were in the church. I'm a PK. I'm a typical PK, but I was doing what I wanted to do. By the time I was 17, I was in clubs, I was drinking, I'm living my life. I dropped out of high school, and everybody's like, now they talk to me and they're like, man, for real? Yeah, I dropped out of high school. I was doing my own thing. You couldn't really tell me anything, but it was a mental shift after the sexual abuse, because from sexual abuse became verbal abuse. You begin to wonder if I'm good enough. I'm married and I have kids. I'm a straight man, so nothing against nobody, but I went through identity crisis. I went through trying to figure out who I was, what is supposed to be happening. And I toggled through that with myself. I didn't really speak out. Yes, my parents, I told them what happened, but after that, I kind of went into this shell of no one's gonna ever hurt me ever again, and it got me into more. But I'm gonna stop at 18, I guess. I'm gonna follow what you say at 18, and I'm gonna be real. By the time I'm 18, I was on my way to prison, you know, um,
Mm.
and it was crazy because I turned 18 in jail. I had never been to juvenile. My parents had enough money to bond me out of almost any situation. But at 18, I'll never forget. They said you couldn't. Your parents' money didn't mean anything. It was just. But as a child, I always told myself I wanted to be in music. I wanted to be a firefighter. Now graduating college, I have my associate's degree. I have my GED. I have different things going on. I look back and I'm like, man, I wanted to be a computer engineer. Um, I had a good life. We traveled every summer. We did everything, but it was just some of the little things. And it's funny because now when I talk to so many people, I went to prison and guys used to tell me, man, if I had your life, I wouldn't be here. And I'm like, I tell people with more money come more problems. It come different types of problems. Yeah, y'all was stealing from the store to feed your family. I was stealing from the store because I felt like nobody loved me. So I wanted to go do my own thing. And then before you know it, I was living on my own. So then it was a
Mhm.
survival mode. At 17, I was on my own. I was doing my own thing. My grandmother was bedridden. So yeah, I got to be in the house by the street lights, but who going to come get me? She not going to
Right.
come, she not going to bother me, and that was her baby. I could do no wrong. So um yeah, but I had a great childhood, a great upbringing. I believe the Bible says, and then again, I don't try to get churchy and spiritual with people, but I do stand on what I believe in, and I'm proud to say I am a believer. I'm saved and sanctified. But the Bible says to train up a child in the way he should go, and when he gets old, he will not depart. And that's one thing I do pride my parents on. They trained me up in the church, learning the word. I know even through everything that I went through mentally, physically, emotionally, I knew to call on the name of Jesus, and Jesus did bring me out of that. It took a long time, but we'll get to that part.
Wow. Wow. Well, first off, let me say, I appreciate your transparency and sharing what you did about your childhood. I don't know if you paid attention to the title of our show for today. This episode is What God Can Do. And you just spoke to that,
Yes,
what
sir.
God can do. Because the worldly perspective, if they hear all that you just shared just now, you're not supposed to be where you are doing what you're doing. You
Wow.
might not even, some would say you might not even are supposed to be someone who's even still alive,
Correct.
just because of the trauma
Yes, sir.
associated with sexual abuse, just because of just kind of being out and, like you said, doing your own thing, wilding out, so to speak, being out there on your own, still as a minor, all of the things that's going on in this world that could have happened to you.
Yes, sir.
Some of them did, but then again, it was never enough to take you out. And that's a testament to what you just gave credit to about how your parents raised you and instructing you and teaching you about leaning into God and allowing him to be your guide and be your protector, be your cover in spite of what's going on. And that's the other thing too, that I loved what you said. You said it multiple times. You talked about, I had a great childhood. Now, again, some would say, well, how is it so great when you just talked about this, that, or the other? But again, that goes back to when you have that relationship with God, when you understand who's in control, who's in charge. It is, as the Bible teaches us, it talks about, we count it all joy. That means the good times and the not so good times,
Yes,
the accomplishments and the struggles. We count it all joy. And that's what in essence, that's what you've done. You've counted it all joy. You said, yes, this was unfortunate, that it wasn't right. It wasn't fair at some of the things that happened to me. But I didn't allow that to be an excuse. I didn't allow that to be a trap, if you will, for me to stay stuck in, to say that I can't be something great. I knew what I was passionate about. I knew what I desired to do. I didn't quite know all the pieces, how they were going to all fall together as to how God was going to manifest all of this. But nevertheless, I knew that I still had purpose. I knew I still had value, because if you didn't, you wouldn't be here. God obviously still had business. He still had work for you to do. So he kept you around in the midst of all of that. And again, one of the things I tell people all the time is like, we have to stop looking at our storms of life as being negatives, but we have to look at them instead as being opportunities for us to grow and develop. So, part of being saved, part of being called by God to do a great work requires one of the requirements is that you got to go through some stuff, because it helps in your relatability, in your ability to connect, in your ability to pour into other people. I mean, how you gonna tell me how to deal with challenges and struggles and things about life, and you ain't never been through nothing? You see, you had a 2-parent household, but you just said, yeah, I did. However, don't get confused into thinking that just because I had a 2-parent household, just because we were quote unquote a middle class family, that we didn't have challenges or problems or anything like that. That doesn't immune anybody from anything. No more than somebody struggling with a single parent household in a poor neighborhood guarantees that they won't be successful in life. You just never know. There are things that we can't foresee coming down the pike, but it's who we are in relationship with that makes all the difference in the world. And so I'm thankful that you had parents that instilled that into you, because it was only through the grace of God that you would be able to even survive and endure and withstand what you already have just shared just in those first 18 years of life. So
yes, sir.
Yeah, so that's huge, and I don't want our listeners to miss that. So very important. So, man, I appreciate your transparency with that, and we already rolling with the show. You dropping gems already about what it means to deal face to face with the adversities of life, and again, as our show title for your episode says, what God can do.
And that's crazy that you say that, is because now that I'm older, and we'll go through some of the things that I've been and done, but God began to show that to me, because when I'm driving, sometimes I have emotional moments where it's like, man, that's supposed to be me. And my wife would tend to tell me, stop saying that, stop saying that. I said, I've watched people that's been through what I've been through die in that. If it's depression, they kill themselves, or somebody killed them, or something happens, and God was blessing me in spite of me. But like you said, because I kept asking God, why me? And God had to tell me one day. I was speaking in a group of kids that I go back and speak with. It was like 500 kids in there. And God said, do you feel if you would have never went through what you went through, that they would be able to chant with you, listen to you, and change somebody's life? Because you can relate and get on their level. And yes, I'm tatted. And yes, it was crazy because they asked me to wear a suit. And I tell people, if you don't put it in the contract, I'm not going to wear it. You understand? I don't like wearing suits, but I will, And so they put it in the contract for me to wear a suit. And the young man had said something, and in the first 3 minutes, the tie was gone, the suit jacket was gone. Now, let me explain this to you. I've been in the same seat you're sitting in, and God began to show me, okay, I have a purpose for you all along. So then now I can come and tell you, oh no, I've been through that. Or I know how that feels, or hey, I can relate to that. And it's some days I say, God, why? And God said, that's why I
Mm.
kept you. No hurt, harm, or danger ever came nor near me. And through everything that I had been through. And I'm still here today. And I'm like, Lord, okay,
Mhm.
I see you. I
Yeah,
see you,
absolutely. And
So yeah.
just even as I'm looking at your slogan, it's not where you start, it's how you finish. That speaks to it all,
Yes.
man. So yeah, good stuff. Good stuff. So, as you shared, of course, those initial beginnings, the foundational basis for your story. And as you enter into adulthood, there's going to be more experiences, more challenges that you go through. But a part of those experiences and challenges that you go through are going to include, from time to time, they're going to include some storms. And some of those storms are going to be a bit intense to the point that sometimes we find ourselves facing moments of adversity that, even if we're normally pretty good at navigating our way through difficult times, every now and then I don't care who you are, we all get hit with something that's a little bit heavier, a little bit more burdensome than the normal day to day stuff. So much so that even as believers, we can sometimes question, how am I going to get out of this? I can't throw no money at this. I can't make a phone call on this. I can't call in a favor on this. It's just me in this moment of adversity. I don't know what to do. I don't know how I'm going to come up out of this. Where do I go from here? And that's where fear, that's where anxiety, that's where levels of stress kicks in. All of those things can get to the point where they overwhelm us and where we feel like there's no way out. And so with that said, tell me about a time where you found yourself in that situation where you didn't see a way out. You weren't sure how this was going to, turn out, how you were going to overcome this moment of challenge, this moment of adversity. If you would just kind of walk us through what was that experience like for you, and what was ultimately the turning point where you at least began to see some light at the end of the tunnel of you coming up out of that situation.
So when you were speaking, God began to give me two, because I said, okay, I'm gonna speak on one situation that I already, it's already programmed in me, and so I already know what happens. But God began to show me two. So I'm gonna go with the beginning, where I was in prison. I was in a one-man cell. My grandmother had passed away. My father had passed away. No money could get me out. It was literally me and God. And I will never forget when I couldn't remember my name. I had watched the guy across the hall
Mm.
kill himself. I didn't have nobody that was coming to visit me. I didn't have nobody that was, riding, as they call it, riding with me. Um, and I woke up and they had given me all this medication, because if you know how the prison system works, they get paid off from medication, people there. It's just a whole, it's a business. So I woke up and I couldn't remember my name, and I couldn't remember my birthday. I knew I was in prison. I knew that part. I didn't know why. I just knew I was in prison. Um, and in my head, they were just treating me like an animal because I was in this cage. And I remember sitting there, and I remember my mom used to tell me as a kid, no matter what situation you get to, especially after I had gotten molested, just pray and sing. Just pray and sing. By then, I had been a worship leader. I would leave the club and go to the church. And, I was a known worship leader, And so while I was in prison, I couldn't remember my name, and I couldn't even remember the
Mm.
words to some of the songs. But I just had a hum, and I was like, I don't know. I don't know what to do. And I would just hum till the words begin to come back into my brain. And I remember my first prayer was, God, you got to keep my mind. Because I grew up in the church. So you hear the older people say, oh, I thank God
Mm.
for I'm in my right mind. And I never knew, you say that as part of the spiel, but then when it actually happens to you, and that was the moment, that gratefulness. really stuck in with. I was so grateful for life. I did a year and a half. Before you know it, I would be smiling. And people like, why are you so happy? I'm just grateful for life because I know who Archie is. But in that time, God took me through a journey of learning me. All the self esteem issues that I was having, I had to learn how to love Archie. My wife couldn't do it. At that time, I wasn't married, but now I'm married. I love me. She brings a happiness to me, but I'm happy with me and me alone. And in that time, I learned what my favorite color was and why. What is this and why? Why do I like to sing? What is my favorite instrument? You just start learning little things that you might not seem in the world is going so fast. So you're like, man, the hustle and bustle, you don't think of these things. But when you forget and you almost lose it all and go crazy for real, those little things start to. I was born in February. Hey, man, those little things start to make you feel good. But then I fast forward to the last time I was incarcerated. I was incarcerated for something that I did not do, and I went to trial. And God began to, I never been that guy that was, God, if you get me out of this, I'll change my life. I never was that guy. I was a worship leader. So God, whatever the will is, let's go for it. And they had offered me 55 years. And I remember I cried and I said, God, I know you didn't bring the same God that made me
Mm.
remember everything that he brought me through has to be the same God today. And I remember I was talking to one of the guys and it was like, you got to do a 360. You got to do a 360, man. You got to change. You got to change. And I've always been a numbers man. I love math. It was my favorite subject, hands down. I could like really be a mathematician. I really love math. And I remember looking at him and I said, well, if
The
I do
same
a
place. Yeah.
360, I'll be in the same
Mm.
spot. The issue is the same people is going to be around me. And then every time I get out, I stay away from them for about 10 days. Then I get bored and, okay, I'm going to go to the bar and have one drink and everybody's there. And, oh, you're back. Before you know it, you're back in the hustle and bustle of things. Before you know it, it's the same. It's the same thing. And God began to show me that you got to do a 180. And it's going to hurt. Doing a 180 isn't easy. And I used to write 180 everywhere. And I told God, I said, God, you brought me through all of this. Now, I could be like Joseph and be locked up and be the ruler and all that. But God, I don't think that that's what you called me to do. But whatever your will is. And God put me in a situation where the money my parents have was no good. Again, he did the same thing again. The lawyer quit. They gave my parents their money back. My parents, preachers, we end up all getting into it. I told them don't come down to visit me. I end up going to trial. Somebody that I was friends with got on a stand and pointed me out. It just was a bunch of things where the odds were stacked against me, where I should not be here to be able to tell the story today. And I was sitting in, we was on trial. I was sitting in the cell and I would sing every morning, I can't give up now. And I would go in. Like that was my worship time. And then we're gonna go to court and y'all do whatever y'all gonna do. And they be like, man, choir boy, they used to call him choir boy. Choir boy, you always listen. At the end of the day, God gonna be God. Lawyer had given up, family had given up, judge even told me when they find you a guilty verdict, because they tried to offer me all this time, and find you a guilty verdict, I'm gonna give you life. That's what she told me to my face. I went and I sung I Can't Give Up Now. The guard knocked on the window, said, can you sing it again for me? I said, oh, I just sung it. I said, okay, I'll sing it again. She said, wait, let me tell you what's going on. And I said, okay. And her daughter was doing chemo as I was on trial, the couple of days that I was on trial. And she told her daughter, if this young man that is on trial fighting for his life can smile and tell God, I can't give
Mm.
up now, you can't either. And that my singing was bringing joy to. I never met her daughter. I didn't know who her daughter was. And she said, "Can you sing it for my baby?" I said, "Okay." So I sung it for her. And then after that, God put me in a situation where I sung it again the third time. And she said, "I believe this time if you sing it again, by then they'll come back and, just go do your thing." So I sung it one more time. Long story short, by the time I was done, I was headed into the courtroom because they wanted to see me. We're waiting on the verdict to come down. My lawyer comes into a side room and she told me to my face, "I don't know if it's the God that you serve or what it is, but they offered to drop
Mm.
every charge against you because, they I think they see they can't win." And I began to give God glory. And I remember what I used to tell every inmate in there: if they ever give me a chance back out here on this. And it was that moment where it was just me and God. Nobody around me. It wasn't no lights, camera. It wasn't this church, you know what I'm saying? This church service where I just had no. It was me and God, and He showed me 180 life. And He said, "You got to take that I out. You've been living for I all this
Mm.
time. I need you to live for why."
Mm.
So everybody trips like, "Man, you spelled it." And the crazy thing is, because I wrote 180 life everywhere, 180 life everywhere with the circles, 180 life everywhere. When I came out, everybody's like, "Man, how did you get successful?" And I'm like, "I'm not successful." How did you get when I put in 180 life, you're the first thing that pops up. God really gave me the vision where I didn't have to pay for all this extra stuff that people are paying for to get on Google and be on the first page and this. And really through that adversity was prayer and singing. Literally, if I took out the spiritual part, I never gave up hope. And I tell people this all the time: they can take your freedom, they can take your dreams, they can take your business, they can take your car, they can take your house. But once they take your hope, that's when you cannot give up
Mm.
hope. Because the Bible says, and again, I could put scripture on it. In Hebrews 6:1, it says, "Faith is the substance of things hoped for." But if you go down to 6, if you go to verse 6, it goes and says, "Without faith, it is impossible
Please
to
God.
please the Lord." So if I give up my hope, I can't please God. If I give up my hope, that means I'm giving up my faith. That means I'm giving up everything. Like but yeah,
Mm.
that's
Wow. 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 Again, what God can do. What God can do when you don't give
I've
up,
watched him do it.
when you hang in there, when you fight,
Yeah.
when you're faithful, when you operate in obedience. You had no obligation per se for this guard who's a part of the system that you're trying to beat to oblige her in singing the worship song that you were singing. And if you recall, before we even started, we started the show today, you and I were talking, and I spoke about how, the value in us telling our stories, because we just never know who we might touch. We may
Yes,
never
sir.
know their names. We may never see their faces. You didn't know the name of that guard's daughter. You never saw her face. But God has a divine, unexplainable type of way of setting up situations. It was almost biblical the way that you know when you think about Bible stories, when we're talking about going around the wall 7 times. Here you were singing the song 3 times, and how this just dramatically changes the whole scope of what was supposed to be the doom. It was just a matter of procedure that you were supposed to be done and over with. Life for you behind bars. That's it. It's a wrap. Join the statistics of the others who are behind. And then, of course, to be in a situation like that for something you didn't even do, to all of a sudden
Yes,
the
sir.
180 coming into play, the 180. But it's a divine 180. It's a godly 180. It's when the world says it's over, we have to understand that we do understand, I should say, when you're in a relationship with God, you understand that it's never over as long as I maintain the hope that you spoke of, that I maintain that faith that you spoke of, that there's always a way. You were even prepared to say, God, whatever your will is, whatever that will is, I'm okay with, but I'm not going to lose hope. I'm not going to sit here. You had every reason to be angry with God, to say, forget everybody. You know, like you said, there was, you didn't have the support system around you. You it was just you and God, and you sitting in that cell.
And if I can, and I'm be as transparent, I'm not gonna say that I wasn't mad at God, because I had moments. I had moments where I was angry. I had a 3-bedroom house, 3 cars, and every shoe you could imagine. And you telling me this is it? Like, you telling me this? I was upset. Like, you not in. I'm gonna say this. There was 4 crimes committed. I committed 1, and it was like, that was like the baby crime that they'd be like, oh, okay, yeah, you go ahead and go. When they had tried to prosecute me for the top crime, I'm like, okay, God, now. And it would be funny because they would call my family, and even when I would call home, they would be like, well, we expect the baby crime, the one they saying over here, but this, nah. And then I remember when they offered me 15 years, and they had sent my cousin down to talk to me. Take the 15 years. You've already been in trouble. You've already did this. And I remember looking at them and said, this is the faith that y'all been preaching to me my whole life. And it was weird because you try to be respectful, but you're upset. And I'm like, this is the faith y'all been. And so then I get upset. I'm not going to lie. I slept for 3 days. I was fighting depression. I'm fighting anxiety. I'm fighting my mental. I'm like, okay, I want to be in a one-man cell. So you know what? I'm just going to hit this person. Took off on somebody. They put me in one-man cell. Then your 15 days in a one-man cell is up. You got to go back out there. I don't feel like being around them. Go in there and just hit somebody. Before you know it, you done swung at the wrong person, and that turned into something else. It was a mental game, you know. But God, when I tell you God protected me, at the end of the day, God protected me, and I said, okay, God, now what's the plan? What happens now? You know, and I'm not gonna say I got out and it was a fairy tale ending, because oh no, it gets worse, you know. But I can say I look 8 years later and I'm here, and again it goes to hope.
Yes.
Even days now where it's like, ooh, I just want to give up. Because sitting in that cell, it was days where I just was like, you know what, I'll be better off in here. I have nobody on the level I thought that I felt people were on. Don't get me wrong, my parents did. I don't want people to say, oh man, his parents didn't write him, because y'all gonna listen and y'all know my parents. Yeah, they rode to an extent. You know, that might be another episode, the Black household. Y'all know how y'all can be, you know, to an extent, you know, but at the end of the day, it was days where I just was like, you know what? It might be better off if I just sit in here and rot. You sit there for a year fighting for your life, and you come home to nothing. Nada. I came home to the clothes I had on when I got released from the jail. And that's all I had.
Wow.
So when people see me cry and they see me go in worship, or they see me working hard, you know, I don't post my house. I've never posted. I don't think I've posted inside of my home at all. I don't post on cars or anything like that. But I post different things to let people know the same God that did it for me. He's no respect of person, and it's the same God that will do it for you. But consistency and hope and faith is how you going to keep making it out. You got to stay consistent with your faith. You got to stay consistent in your prayer life. You got to stay. I started a magazine 3.5 years ago, and it's just the consistency. But I'm going to get back to you. I'm sorry.
Man, I'm taking it all in, and everything that you're saying is right, man. That consistency piece of it. Like you said, just, just acknowledging the fact that the same God that delivered me through the last situation and the situation before that and the situation before that, what makes me think that he's going to do anything different now? I've oftentimes, again, had that conversation, not only to myself, but with others, where I've literally said, when I think back, when I find myself, dealing with a moment of adversity or challenge or whatever, and I can feel myself getting worked up and stressed out all about it. And I say to myself, when has God ever let you down? And I could be sitting here all day, all night, all week, months, years from now, and I won't be able to tell you one time where he's let me down. When I've trusted in him, when I gave it over to him, whatever that situation was, he has always not only delivered, but he's always exceeded my expectations. Like even what I thought he was going to do, he went over and beyond that. He's never failed me. And so you would think that if you've had that opportunity to experience that once, twice, 10 times, 20 times, that you would get it. But, we, being the humans that we are, we sometimes drift off and we forget. But it's so important that we remember and not let go of that, God's promises are eternal. What he said he's going to do is what he said he's going to do. We may not necessarily know up front and in specific detail how he's going to do it. God is very creative. He can take the most unexpected, unusual, the thing that you least thought, the person that you least thought. In your case, who would have thought the person who would have been that person that would speak to you before the miracle, before the promise is made, would be a guard? That the connector would be a child, her child going through cancer. Who would have thought? The last person that you would have guessed, if they would have asked you, tell us who you think is going to be the difference maker. You wouldn't have been saying that, but that's just how God is. That's why he's God, because he does things. His thoughts are not our thoughts. His ways are not our ways. It's just what he does. And as you stated, in order for you to even begin to embark on the vision and to do the works that you're doing now, the prelude to that vision, and that's with anybody who's been called by God to carry out a vision, there is a breaking point. You have to be broken down. He has to bring you to a point where you have no choice, but that if you're going to go through with this, if you're going to really be what he's predestined for you to be, he has to break you down to the point where you understand the significance and the importance of being dependent upon him. Because as long as you keep doing it your way, just as you spoke up when you were explaining the why in life, I can't make it about me anymore. If I'm going to do God's work, it can't be about me. Yep. It cannot be about me. I have to give all of me away, give it to him, and I can be the vessel that he uses to do the work, but I cannot make it about me anymore. I can't make it about the stuff, the money, all of that. I mean, that doesn't mean we don't want the bag, and God has no problem with you wanting the bag. But you got to do it his way to get to that. You got to do it his way and you got to be willing to do whatever he says to do, even if it sounds like it's the craziest, weird. If he tell you to hop on one foot and spin around 3 times, if that's what he told you to do, just do it. Just trust that if he's telling you, if he's giving you the directive, you can trust in his plan. It doesn't have to make sense to you. He doesn't have to explain it all. Just the fact that he originated the plan is all you need to know. Our responsibility is to execute it to the best of our ability and trust that he's going to give us whatever resources we need, that if we run into any barriers or obstacles along the way, he's going to be right there with us to carry us through. He's not going to set us up for failure. The victory is already there. He's just asking for us to trust, to have faith, to be obedient so we can get to that victory. That only provides blessings for us, but it provides blessings for those that he's predestined for us to be of service to. So love that, man. Love that story. Such a powerful story, and people need to hear this. People definitely need to hear this, man. This is good stuff. So Archie, man, when you find yourself facing challenging moments, I mean, you've talked about some pretty heavy stuff, but we know that all challenges that we encounter are not going to always be to that level. Sometimes it's just life and type stuff that we deal with day to day kind of things. But with that said, when you do find yourself facing adversity, I'm curious to know, what is your process, your routine, your regimen, if you will, that you like to implement that works best for you? That, hey, if this is one of them days and I'm up against something that I got to deal with, a challenge, a moment of adversity, what things do you like to do? What works best practices that you implement on your end that helps you to do so in a healthy and a productive way?
So again, I'm a worship leader. So my worship is for real. Number one. Number one, I start my day off. And I tell people this: if you start your day with positivity, your day is gonna be positive. You start your day with all this rap and loud noises, bebop, and all this extra, the day tends to turn into that, So even when I have adversity, my wife laughs at me because I'll tell her, I'm about to go lay it down. I'm about to start this whole day all the way back over. Let me show y'all how. I'll tell my assistant that in a minute. For the calls, don't let nobody get through. Cancel this and give me at least 2 hours. Cut the phone off and start. I will literally start the day all the way over again. But then there's times where you don't have that opportunity. I'm on set a lot of times. Some of us do have to work. And it really comes to that self-talk. I believe in affirmations. I believe that you can speak things into existence. Um and it's okay to cry. It's okay to let those emotions out. But I tell people this: stay consistent through adversity. You have to stand strong and stay consistent. I'll never forget 3 issues in, I had no sales. I literally, I, I would get calls from family members. How's that hobby coming along for you? And that it used to hurt my feelings. Now you say whatever you want to say. I don't trip on it, but it really comes to being consistent. Being consistent. It really comes to that self talk. And then I tell everybody, you have to write the vision and make it plain and understand when you write that vision down, what is my end goal and how am I going to get there? If you really thought that it was going to be all good days, I'm sorry to explain it to you, baby, but it's some rough days in there. But guess what? Okay, I'm going. Sometimes you got to, you know what? I'm going to just make it through this next 5 minutes. I'm gonna just make it through this next 5 minutes. And okay, all right, I made it through that 5 minutes. Okay, I got 5 more minutes to go. Go take me a walk. I love water, so I let all my emotions. I go out to the lake or the ocean, or if I love water. So if I see a body of water, I'll go out there and let my emotions out at the water and really get my mind back in the game. And I do a lot of self talk. Okay, Archie, we got to get back in this game. I got too many people depending on me. I got 6 people on staff. If I don't do it, people, it's too many people depend on me. Plus, I got a wife and 2 children. And you can't give up today. Oh, it was rough. Okay, and then also remember what you've come through. It's okay to self reflect. Now it's okay to look in the rearview mirror. Now you can't drive forward staring in the rearview mirror, but it's okay to glance back. That's why it's there. Okay. Oh no, that looks like something from the past. Let me stay focused. It's okay to look, but man, you remember when I have reminiscent sessions sometimes, man. You remember when I used to do this? Remember I was doing that? Somebody will tag me, man. You remember we did this? I'd be like, yeah, I remember. Remember when y'all used to let me walk around, look crazy, and do crazy stuff, and then you sit there and you be like, man, and measure the growth. Love on the growth. Stop being so hard on yourself. Man, listen, y'all. I'm sorry. I just y'all got to stop being so hard on yourself. Stop being so. If it's not gonna get done today, it's okay. It's not gonna get done today. It's okay. Sometimes you just got to. It's okay. It just didn't get done.
Mm.
It just. Hey, make a call. Hey, can we make a payment arrangement? Can we do this? Can we do that? What can we do? But again, it goes back to never giving up your faith, never giving up your hope, and staying in the fight. Sometimes you have to scale back. I have a sister right now. Big shout out to Shia Walker. She has her own practice. She's a massage therapist, and I've watched her grow. But then I've watched in some seasons she's had to scale back. I've watched in some seasons where she had to go be a massage therapist for another company while keeping her practice open. Just because you have to take the detour doesn't mean that you're not getting to your destination. You know, you never know. Oh, well, I want to go this way. This is the quickest way. They might have drilled a hole in the ground, and now you zooming through the cones trying to go this way, not paying attention to the detour. Now you hanging, and you want everybody to come run and rescue you. When there was a big old sign, and I was telling a friend that the other day. I said it's crazy. You'll have all these red flags, you'll have all these signs, but then you want everybody to come. And I was talking to one today. He was telling me he was putting on a sweater. I said it's 104 degrees outside. Don't put on no sweater. And he was like, well, no, I'm thinking about just rolling up the sleeves. I said, listen, if you pass out at the store, we not running down there to come rescue you. And then you want us to sit and mourn at your funeral because you done had a heat stroke and want us to visit you every day when the sign says and the phone already alerted you that there's a heat advisory. Take heed to the signs. So then, and then you'll be the first one. Oh man, they hating on me. Oh man, they don't like me. No, you're not taking heed to the signs. But that's my thing, is really staying focused. And it's okay to reset. I'm okay with, hey, you know what? I need to reset. I was telling my wife that today. I'm in a reset mode where I'm mentally drained. I know I'm not supposed to say that. Yeah, if I'm not supposed to say it, y'all can edit it out. But I'm mentally drained. I have 2 kids under 2. I'm the provider. I have to make sure things happen. But right now I'm mentally drained. So every morning, what do? I get up and I go take me a walk. And during that walk, some days I'm singing, some days I'm crying, some days I'm thinking. But by the time I get back, I'm in game face. Let's go. We out the huddle. We ain't got time. We went from practice to recital. That's one thing. I love music. So you rehearsal. We went from rehearsal to recital. When everybody comes in with their tickets and they got their nice gowns on and they nice tuxes on, they didn't come here to see you rehearse and try that again. Oh no, they came here for all them rehearsals, all them late nights. You was in the studio all them times. They came here to see the show. So yeah, I can do rehearsal and walk the block and get my emotions together. But when I get back and okay, what are we doing? Because they'll come to me. Okay, so what are we doing? Okay, yeah, we're gonna do this A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and we're gonna do this, and this. Boom. And you got to take it.
Love that, man. I love that. Couple of things I wanted to point out. One, it's clear that you don't wait for adversity to come before you ready yourself, prepare yourself for it. Like you said, you start your day off on a positivity tip. And if for some reason it didn't get started off that way, you have no problem hitting the reset button and starting it over again. I love that. I think as a man, I also love the fact that you spoke about it being okay to let your emotions out, specifically to cry. As you know, as I'm sure you know, we grow up in a society, and this has been going on for decades, where men are oftentimes frowned upon, if you will, for showing emotion, because that makes you look soft, that makes you look weak. Men experience, emotional, challenges just like women do. And so to the men who have an opportunity to check this out, please understand, or even to the ladies, let your men be okay with releasing. They have to have some way of releasing, as you said, especially when you're that brother who is actually assuming responsibility, as you should, in your respective households. You're the provider, you're a father, you're a husband. That's an overwhelming thing. And I'm not taking anything away from the ladies who are putting in the work in and outside of the home. But as men, especially for those men who are trying to do things the right way, You have no idea how many of these brothers, um, while everybody is asleep at night, we're sitting up trying to figure out, how we gonna take care of things, whether it's the mortgage, the utilities, the providing for the kids, not only the needs but also the wants. I've been on those walks that you've talked about. When I'm out walking my dog early in the morning and I'm having those self talks. People talk. Sometimes people think you're crazy talking to yourself. I'm a big component. I have great conversations with myself. We got to talk that thing out and figure it out. Clear your
Yeah.
head. Like you said, get prayed up. In your case, like I said, sing to yourself, whatever it is you got to do to prep yourself. It's okay to do that. You need that moment to
Sure.
release, because if you,
Yep.
as a man, if you're walking around here holding that all in and you never have any outlet, especially whether it's a healthy outlet or no outlet at all, um, eventually that's gonna only harm you. And that's why we see, unfortunately, especially in Black community, Black men are being taken out just from stress, heart attacks, strokes. And I mean, and yeah,
Yeah.
and it's not always because they don't exercise. It's not always because they don't eat right. It's because they're holding in so much, and because they've not been given permission
So
to
much.
let it out. And so I appreciate you being
Yeah.
transparent and saying
Yes,
that.
sir.
And I will testify that to the same thing. Brothers, it's okay to cry. It's okay to get that out. You need to
Yeah.
have that ability to get those things out, to get some of those emotions and those frustrations off your chest, because we know that the deck is stacked against us in this world on so many different levels. But again, I would be remiss if I didn't go back to, if we know who has our back, ultimately, that relationship with God, it's all
Yeah.
going to be all right. But even God understands that in our human condition, that he's okay with us letting that out, to release, even if it gets to the point to where you spoke about earlier in sharing your story about, even sometimes if you call yourself being mad at God, he's not offended by that. He understands. We're going to get frustrated. We're going to get annoyed. We're going to be asking those questions like, why this? Why that? Why am I going through what I'm going through? And he'll be patient and he'll allow us to get that out. But then once we've kind of pulled ourselves together, if we're willing to sit and be open and listen, then he will impart in us what we need to know. And guess what? We're going to be all right. We're going to have the answers that we need. We're going to have the game plan in place to move forward. We're going to get that reboost of energy that we need, that focus, to be consistent,
Yes,
as
sir.
you've been speaking about. So important to be consistent and be diligent in what we're doing, and not allowing ourselves to be stagnant, not allowing ourselves to give up just because it gets hard. Yeah, this is life.
Yes, sir.
Life gets hard sometimes. And again, when you're
Yes, sir.
called by God, expect it to get hard sometimes. It's just what it is. But he's there with you. He's got your back. He's got your front. He's got you covered. He's going to be your eyes and ears to help you navigate through all of this. If you're trusting in and you're walking in obedience, it's going to be all right. So if you trust in that, it's going to be
Yes,
all
sir.
good. So appreciate you sharing that, man. So important. So important. So if you had a chance, man, to speak to the younger version of yourself, I mean, you've shared a lot of things that you've had to go through, challenges. If you could speak to that younger brother who was, that younger Archie who, was, kind of wilding out, got into some trouble, even found yourself locked up. Or perhaps we might have some listeners right now, some young men, some young women even, they are feeling trapped right now. They've had some rough patches along the way, and they're thinking about giving up. They're thinking about throwing in the towel. They don't see a way out of this. They feel like because they've made some mistakes that, that there's no hope for them, that there's no, no promise for them for tomorrow. There's no life for them. There's no opportunity for that 180 shift. If you had a chance to speak to them or to speak to the younger version of yourself, what would be your words of encouragement or your words of inspiration that you share, that you believe are be instrumental things, strategies that they need to implement to change that mindset and understand that there is still great possibilities that lie ahead of them, great blessings that lie ahead of them if they just stay focused and stay locked in on the big picture of it all?
I would have to say, first off, make not giving up not an option but a priority. Um, I don't have a B plan. It's the plan. Um, Also, again, dust yourself off, try again, regroup. Okay. And really look at situations as what they are. Okay. Hey, this didn't work. So let me try this way. If I was to speak to the younger version of me, I would say
Mm.
forgive. That's really running rapid these days is you move off of emotions because you can't forgive what happened. So then really the underlying situation is this happened. So now I'm upset. So I'm doing this, and this. And the underlying situation is, hey, I got to forgive myself. It wasn't my fault that this happened to me. It wasn't my fault that things fell apart. It wasn't my fault that the company closed. It wasn't my fault, they laid me off. It wasn't my fault. You have to understand. But then there are times when you have to sit there and be like, okay, well, what was my fault? They laid off everybody but me. And I have to really take that into consideration. Was I supposed to be looking for a new job? Was I supposed to be, was I supposed to look for a new friend? Was I, also begin to love yourself. Love yourself because nobody's going to love you like you love yourself. You can't give up because faith is the substance of things that are hoped for. You got to have that faith. And again, I say this so much and people can get upset, but I'm going to say this till I'm blue in the face. The same God that brought me out has no respect of person. And if he did it for me and gave me the knowledge and ordered my steps and kept me, and he'll do the same thing for you. And the crazy part about it is I tell people just like this, faith without works is dead. I was blessed with an opportunity. They wouldn't let me in the door. So I began to build my own way and I built my own house and a door for me to walk through. I seen an opportunity, I ran with it, and that's where I'm at today. Do understand God will open doors for you. You have to just stay consistent, stay after it. All my entrepreneurs out there, y'all know what I believe. Your network will depict your net worth. I don't know who's on here that needs to hear it, but you have to stay consistent, stay after it. Don't let the world beat you down to say it's supposed to be like this, that, and the third. Because my story's not your story. I'm supposed to be in jail and dead. And I'm blessed. I own my home and I go and drop my kids off at school. I don't look over my shoulder. I'm supposed to, they were supposed to shoot and kill me. SWAT knocked my parents' door down looking for me. But again, the same God that's a keeper. And then when God brings you out, don't go forgetting what you've been through. Oh, I'm good now. I don't have to. No, stay faithful. Stay faithful. Stay faithful.
Love that. Love that, man. Especially that forgiveness piece. Not only forgiveness of others, but forgiving ourselves. Like I said, don't quit beating yourself up. If God's forgiven you, why would you still be beating yourself up? We all fall short. We all make mistakes. It's not the mistakes that we
Yes,
made, but
sir.
it's are we learning from what we've done? We've been in that situation. We've been in this circumstance. What do we learn from that? Are we growing from that? Like you talked about that earlier about, get in the habit of measuring that growth, where you've come, take these baby steps, the possibilities are there for all of us. And again, we serve a God who is able, who is capable, who's the ultimate problem solver, wants nothing but the best for us. We rely upon that. We trust in that. We believe in that. Nothing is too big for us to achieve. Nothing is too big for us to overcome. So definitely great advice. Great advice. Well, brother, it has been a pleasure having you on, man. You've been dropping gems left and right. Such a powerful story, man. I'm so happy and excited that I was able to make this happen. I know I've been blessed. I know my listeners have been blessed, man, and just know that you have an open door to come back on the show at any time, man. And this is just the beginning of a connection between you and I, man. We will definitely be linking up on some other things moving forward. But before I let you go, as is customary here on the Blessings in the Streets podcast, man, we want to take an opportunity to love on you, to celebrate you, to acknowledge you. So if you got any thing going on personally or professionally that you'd like to share, man, that we can celebrate, that we can uplift you on, man, please do so at this time. Let us know what's going on now, what's coming up down the pike that you can share with us.
Well, personally, as you guys already know, my wife gave birth to our baby girl 18 days ago, May the 17th. So I'm very excited about that. But I am still working. So you guys know you can go to 180life.com and definitely get a subscription to our international magazine. We have over 4,500 copies that go out worldwide every month. Every month it goes into people's houses, homes every month. We are doing marketing, we're doing all that, and within the next 90 days we're in the final stages of publishing our anthology called Because I Survived It, the novel. So my story and 4 other authors' stories are in there. I am blessed to have some of the best authors. It's crazy that I say they're the best authors, and I feel bad because their adversity made their stories dynamic. But for them to share with the world has just been so crazy. Big shout out to Tony and Trisha Grant out of Los Angeles. You have seen her on Family Business. You've seen him in the Tyler Perry plays. I will be with them July the 2nd. I will be with them in their home July the 2nd. We are doing a live interview with them, and I'm so excited. I will be in Atlanta. If you want to catch up with my schedule and certain things that I have going on, all I have to do is go over to the Instagram page, type in 180 Life, 180 Show, or go to our website at 180life.com. You can find me on Facebook at Archie J Jenkins. I would love to connect with you from marketing to if you just need somebody to listen to you. I'm busy, but I have time to listen, and we can definitely converse. And yeah, get you your subscription. We are on year 3, and I am so excited. I leave for Atlanta in a couple weeks for a big magazine release there, and then we come back to Houston, and then we go to LA to release one. So when I tell you I'm so excited, and you guys have been keeping this thing going, and I'm going to continue to bring great content in the magazine world. We have 8 more months on our contract, and they just sent the email today that said they're going to renew. So yeah, a 1-year subscription. I promise you won't. Man, how do I know y'all going? Somebody hit me with that the other day. How do I know you're going to still be in business in a year? Listen, I promise we will make sure that we have a magazine for you in your mailbox every month.
Awesome, man. Well, again, man, thank you so much for being on. I'm thankful to God at how He's moving in your life, professionally and personally, man. Many blessings to you, man. We're definitely keeping you lifted up in prayer, and just keep on walking in that purpose, walking in that vision that God has placed on you, and keep fighting through, spreading that 180 Life brand spirit and energy all across the world like you're doing, man. I'm excited for not only what you're doing now, but what God is going to continue to do. You're just starting, man. You're just in the beginning stages of greatness, man. And it's just such a pleasure to hear that. And to my audience I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, I thank y'all so much. Thank you.
Absolutely. And to my audience who's been so gracious enough to tune in, if you've enjoyed our content today, our conversation, our transparency, and sharing such powerful and wonderful stories and messages here, please subscribe, please share, please like, please comment, because this is what the Blessings in the Streets podcast is all about. We want to uplift, we want to encourage, we want to inspire. Again, being vulnerable, being open, being transparent, keeping it real, letting you know that, yes, storms come across everybody's way. It's not a matter of if, but a matter of when. But here's the thing, when those storms do come, it's okay for you to process however the emotions that you're dealing with in that moment in time. You just can't stay stuck there. But more importantly, know that there is a God that is willing, that is able, that is capable of pulling you through that storm, navigating you through accordingly, allowing you to glean from those challenging moments what it is that you're supposed to get from it, so that you can be a better version of yourself, so that you can be used accordingly by him to be able to pour in, to uplift, to encourage others that he is already predestined for you to do so with. And if you don't currently have a relationship with God, I'm here to tell you, not just something that I heard, not just something that Archie heard, but something that we know from personal experience. What God can do, nobody else can. And today is a mighty fine day to make that relationship right with him if you don't already have one. So with that said, remember, here at the Blessings in the Streets podcast, this is the place where your story is your glory, where your relationships are relevant, and your journey is your joy. I am your host, Joseph B. Roberts. Thank you so much for tuning in. And until next time, you keep fighting that good fight. You keep persevering. Hang in there. Trust, believe, lean on God. Trust him. Obey him. Hope. Grab hold to that hope and hold on to it tight. Exercise that faith. Walk in that faith and just watch him do miraculous and wonderful things in your lives and in the lives of others, again, that he is predestined for you to pour into. So I'll see you next time. You take care of yourselves until then, and I'm excited for our next show. Take care of yourselves.